Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about fatigue management in the gym when you're cutting versus when you're bulking. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my craft a little bit, and let's talk about this, because this actually is an important topic. A lot of people overlook, they don't understand, and they wonder why their energy is low, why they're losing muscle, why they feel like crap when they're cutting and losing weight, and that is a real issue overall. And it's something that has to be addressed. And the thing is, people need to understand there's a big difference in your recovery versus when you're gaining weight versus when you're losing weight. It's an enormous difference because calories are anabolic, calories replenish glycogen, calories speed up muscle protein synthesis. They do a lot of things for you that make recovery from exercise and training a lot easier. Now, when I say bulking and cutting, I want to define my terms here because these terms get misused. A lot of people think bulking means eating everything you can and just getting fat. That's not necessarily what bulking is. Bulking means that you are gaining weight in an attempt to gain muscle. So if you started at 150 pounds, if you ever want to gain muscle, you're probably going to have to gain weight. You're going to have to bulk. And that's what it means. If you want to get to 160 pounds, you're going to have to overeat to get there. Even if you're gaining muscle, it requires calories. It requires you to increase your food intake to do it. All right. The difference is, unfortunately, when you are cutting and losing weight, you have to either reduce caloric intake or you have to dramatically increase energy expenditure. You can do that with exercise training, different forms of training, but the problem we run into is that as calorie deficits start to be created, or sometimes even caloric maintenance, you don't recover as quickly. And the larger your caloric deficit gets, the more it negatively impacts your ability to recover from training, affects your ability to make progress in the gym, and sometimes it affects your ability to even maintain what you have. All right, it's very possible to lose muscle, lose strength, everything else due to a caloric deficit, and that's just the reality of it. And unfortunately, lifting weights burns calories also. So it's oftentimes people have this tendency because they see a lot of pro bodybuilders and other people who are like, I do a lot of really high volume training, a lot of lifting with high reps, high sets, everything else when I cut because it burns calories. And that's true, it does. That absolutely does burn calories. But it also affects your fatigue in a very, very real way. Weightlifting is one of the most fatigue-inducing forms of exercise you could possibly do. It is one of the most difficult to recover from because of the intensity of it, the workload of it, the micro-traumas it creates in your muscle tissue, your connective tissue, even your bones. It can be rough on the body. That's the reason it works so well. And that's a point that needs to be made, needs to be understood. Weight training causes your body to make major changes in its structure because it is tough on the body. All right, that's why it does it. Your body's response to weight training is an extreme response. The fact that it's willing to add tissue to the body, thicken muscles up, make bones denser, is something the body wouldn't normally want to do because that costs energy. People could starve to death out in the natural environment from gaining too much muscle and having too high of a metabolism. The body doesn't want to gain muscle, but it does so as a response to training. So people talk about, oh, shocking the body. Lifting weights shocks the body. You don't have to do anything extreme. Coming and doing 10 sets of 3 on an exercise with a weight your body has never done 10 sets of 3 on before is enough to shock your body. And its response is extreme to thicken things up. It's hard on the body though, and it requires energy to recover from. And if you don't have enough energy to recover from it, your performance will start to go down. Now the downside to all of this is that unfortunately the high volume training approach generally only works for people who are either fairly gifted in terms of their recovery or people who are using anabolic drugs to stave off muscle loss, speed up recovery, things like that. Okay, and I'm not saying everyone who uses this style of training is on drugs automatically. They just might be gifted. They might be paying attention to their fatigue management very closely. For most people, it's not going to work. And you're going to find that most experts out there who really study this stuff, guys like Lyle McDonald's written whole books on this stuff. Even he'll tell you, honestly, you have to cut back your volume in the gym when you're trying to lose body fat. If you want to recover from it, you've got to cut the volume back. And it really seems counterintuitive because we're like, well, wait a minute, all this training burns calories. And if we're trying to create a calorie deficit, we're going to burn less calories now because we're training less. So that means I'm going to have to cut food back even more. Well, this sucks. And it does suck. It does suck, but you know what? That's the real world. Unless you want to start having injuries, be tired all the time, start losing muscle, everything else when you're cutting, you've got to manage your volume in the gym. It just has to be done. It has to be done because it's very easy to chronically overreach. It's easy to overtrain when you're cutting. And generally, the best advice I would give guys when you're trying to lose body fat, you're going to have to accept. If you're not a noob, you're not blasting a bunch of drugs that you just started on that you've never done before, you're simply going to have to scale back a little bit in the gym. You're going to have to say, okay, I'm probably not going to get much stronger. You might get a little stronger. You know, if you've been doing purely high reps and you went to lower reps, yeah, you might get a little stronger, but it's not going to be muscle tissue gain. You might gain some neural efficiency. You have to accept, okay, the gains are going to stop while I'm losing body fat. All right? Unless you're pretty fat or you're on drugs, the gains are going to have to come to a stop, and you're going to have to accept what you're going to hope for is to just hold on to what you have. And you've got to realistically assess that. Sorry, I just lost something. You're going to have to realistically accept and assess how much workload do I need to do to hold on to the muscle I have. Now, guys like Lyle will recommend that you cut your total training volume by about a third, approximately a third. So in other words, if you're doing 5 sets of an exercise, you probably need to cut down to 3. Okay, that's what it means. And that should be enough to hold on to gains. All right, now are you going to make new gains? No. Because that might have been the volume you were using to progress on and make gains using that high workload. And there's nothing wrong with high workload for gaining muscle. It's not the only approach to do it, but it's a workable approach. It does work. It absolutely works. But you're going to have to scale that back and say, okay, I'm going to have to do 3 sets of 8 instead of 5 sets of 8 like I've been doing. Okay. And that's usually why I recommend to guys, I usually recommend the 5 to 8 rep range for people who are wanting to lose body fat. The reason, it doesn't create an excessive amount of fatigue. It's not particularly extreme on the peripheral nervous system and everything because you're not pushing really, really heavy weights, but you're also not doing so much volume that you're creating metabolic fatigue that you can't recover from. It's a nice balance between the two. It gives you a nice balance between overall strength, overall hypertrophy training, and you can get away with enough volume in that rep range to hold on to your muscle and your strength without overdoing too much fatigue. I think it's a good rep range for that. Because it's a nice balanced approach where you're getting a little bit of everything to try to hold on to what you have. All right, but yeah, you got to cut your volume back. So if you're cutting volume back, what can you do about calories? Find ways to burn calories that's less fatiguing on your body. Less cardio, non-exercise induced activity. You know what? Those burn calories. How about when you're trying to cut? Does it eat your recovery up too much to take the stairs at work? Take the stairs at work. On your break from work, if let's say you have a desk job, get up and walk around more, stretch your legs, move more. Find ways to get up and just move more. You could probably burn an extra 200 calories every day without even changing your exercise, just by getting up and moving more, finding reasons to get up and move around. Like I said, take the stairs at work instead of the elevator. You know what? That adds up. It's not a lot, but if you think in those terms all the time, I need to get up and just be more active in ways that isn't going to beat my body up, it will help you burn more calories. Less cardio. Brisk walks, they don't impact recovery the same. You can leisurely pedal on your bike for an hour without it beating your recovery up. Okay, interval training, HIIT cardio, that stuff will, even some GPP work, that takes its toll and it has to be accounted for. But lower intensity activity burns through calories, and that's the thing. That's the first thing our body tries to do. When you cut calories back, your body doesn't want you to lose weight. So what does it do? It makes you try to be lazier. It makes you more lethargic. You get a little bit of brain fog sometimes. That's because your body is saying, hey, I don't want you to starve. I don't want you to lose weight. So you're going to move less. Fight against that. Fight against that and just move more. Find ways to get up and move more. Be more active. Take brisk walks. Do less cardio. That stuff won't interfere with your recovery the same way that more intense training will. It won't burn nearly as much calories per hour, but it will burn calories. And it will make a meaningful difference in the grand scheme of things. Trust me, if you're getting up forcing yourself to just do more, do extra less cardio, enough to burn another 200, 300, 400 calories every day, think about that in terms over the course of a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. if your goals are fat loss. Okay, that's going to help you lose body fat while maintaining muscle without interfering with your recovery, so that when you are in the gym, you aren't wasting recovery time and recovery energy on activities that aren't really stimulating growth, because you have to stimulate enough growth to make your body hold on to what you have. You're not really going to grow from it, but you're growing and shrinking all the time. By stimulating just a little bit, which again, scaling back and doing the same weights for less sets will get you there. That'll stimulate a little bit. It'll help you hold on to what you have while your body's trying to reach that homeostasis. And doing these other activities will leave you enough energy left, enough recovery that you can burn through calories doing those things without it interfering so much with your gym time and your actual ability to stimulate muscle growth so that you can hold on to what you have. So really, these things are beneficial tools that allow you to not have to cut your calories back as far, and still not interfere with your recovery so much that you can't train either. And it's striking that balance. It's a difficult part. And those are little helpful tools to help you guys do that, so that you don't end up losing muscle, getting fatigued, having your hormone levels crash, everything else that goes along with losing body fat. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.